Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Steven Universe review. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Season 1, Episode 22, Steven and the Stevens. This is an episode I have been wanting to talk about for a while now, because this is in fact one of the most dangerous episodes in the show, because it's introducing time travel, and time travel can ruin shows if not handled properly. Let me just, before we get into it, I want to give just a tip of general writing advice. Don't use time travel. Unless your entire story is focused around time travel, a la Groundhog's Day, Majora's Mask, By His Bootstraps, don't use time travel. Introducing time travel into your story is one of the most dangerous things you can do, because it can destroy the entire continuity of your show. And you could make the very valid argument that this episode could theoretically and maybe does do that. Let's get into it. So it starts off, they're at this room with all these hourglasses. I don't know, they're doing the Indiana Jones Holy Grail thing. And if they pick up an hourglass, if they pick up an hourglass and they don't pick the right one, it could destroy everything, right? So Amethyst picks one, and it's the wrong one, so the temple starts to fall apart. Steven runs back and gets his little tiny one, and he takes it with him. They leave. Now they have to wait 100 years, which, how many times do you think they have tried this? And how many times do you think they failed? I blame Pearl. She's the one who said, it would be something big and grand. But Steven's excited for Beachapalooza, which is this big beach-related event, blah, 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 music. Yeah, fine, whatever. And he goes to see his dad, and Yellowtail's boat is stuck in the car wash, so they can't do anything. So he wishes he could stop the boat, and he travels back in time, is able to stop the boat, but instead the car wash catches on fire. So he travels back in time to stop himself from stopping the boat, and he does, and this gives him the idea to start a band, Steven and the Stevens, which, right off the bat, this is hilarious. All four Stevens, right? They're each doing their own thing. But the song is about how Steven is unique, how nobody else is like him. And the contrast is hilarious. It's really funny. But now we have time travel. And, oh God, is time travel dangerous? Because, okay, fun, right? Oh, we're going back in time and changing things. And my best guess of what this show's doing, because there are different types of time travel, my best guess is they're going for the type where when you go back in time, you create an alternate timeline, and you can no longer go back to the one you started at, right? Now your actions have completely changed the timeline. So every time Steven travels back in time, he's leaving a timeline without him. That's very interesting. This show will never address it again based on the end of the episode, because they need to get rid of the time turner, but it's interesting nevertheless. So the four Stevens. Each of them gets their own personality, the funny one, the smart one, the handsome one, I can't remember what the fourth one was. And Steven's realizing how annoying Steven is, which, I mean, it's kind of a detriment against the show, because I know they made the other three Stevens extra annoying, but that's not helping a good argument to see a Steven as not annoying. He still can be really annoying. It's not an argument in favor of the show. I don't mind it. Steven's a kid, and there are very few episodes where him being a kid and being obnoxious like this really get in the way of the episode. So Steven, the three Stevens, decide they're going to form their own band with Amethyst on drums, and their original band was they were doing like a rock and roll throwback kind of thing, but now they're doing angst. Steven's a big fat meanie, zucchini, whatever. And the main Steven, the handsome one, decides to go back in time, stop the band from happening, but all the other Stevens follow him. They go back through, we see a few past scenes, yeah, whatever, cute time travel. Again, each time they do it, they're creating an alternate timeline. Dangerous. And this eventually all culminates in them showing up at the place with the hourglasses. All the Stevens fight, and the main Steven, presumably, realizes that this is a bad thing, that Steven shouldn't be fighting Steven. So he breaks the hourglass, killing all the other Stevens, and Steven literally watches himself die. Holy shit. This was the first episode that I remember, again, I have a shitty memory, where I remember thinking, this show can be fucking dark. And it does do this a few more times. This show can be really dark when it needs be. But now we have our main Steven, and hey, everyone goes to Beachapalooza, which, again, it's that thing I love that I'm going to stop probably mentioning sooner or later, about the Jim just playing along with Steven. And the song is great, because it's the song we heard earlier, but now the lyrics are changed to say, never go back in time. I learned to stay true to myself by watching myself die. That is a great line. I freaking love the song at the end. And yeah, that's the episode. I think it's a fine episode, but its implications are problematic. Because if there's one time turner, there may be other time turners. And why didn't the homeworld use these time turners to end the war? They were never given any rules. There's no limitations on how these time turners work. So they could do anything with them. And that's what makes the time thingy dangerous. That's why they got it out of the plot. They set it up in this episode, and they killed it in this episode, because it could ruin all continuity. That's very dangerous. I mean, if there were restrictions, Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, how they can only travel back in time to a certain point, its implications are too bad. And part of me thinks the only reason they use the time turner in this episode is because it was in the pilot. The pilot episode was the time thingy, and him using it to create the perfect comeback. And that's the only reason they did it here, and they shouldn't have, because time travel is too dangerous of an element. In the show, I mean, they'll never address it again, which is both a good and a bad thing. But overall, I think it's a fine episode. Its implications can be dire, but I feel like the show won't reference them at all. I mean, maybe, but probably not. Oh god, and if this is bad, wait until we get to Future Vision. I hope y'all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.